You are listening to Lesson 3, Chapter 1 of Form 4 World History. Cameroon, General Education. Narrated by Wacheseh Academy. The Revolution in Austria-Hungary 1848-49 causes. Hatred for Germanism by the various racial groups. The desire for independence and greater freedom by the Magyars, Slavs, Czechs, Poles, etc. Hatred for the repressive policies of Metternich. The refusal to grant religious freedom annoyed the non-Catholics. Refusal to grant press freedom and the banning of books, newspapers, associations, persecution of citizens, etc. annoyed the people. The administration was inefficient and did not provide the basic needs of peasants. Hatred for the class discrimination and the wide gap between the aristocrats and the wretched peasants. Refusal to grant direct elections and enlarge the franchise. Peasants suffered heavy taxes while the nobles who enjoyed more privileges were exempted. Severe economic and financial problems facing the Austrian Empire, especially bankruptcy. People wanted economic prosperity. The poor working conditions of the factory workers and the refusal of the government to act. The high unemployment produced thousands of frustrated hungry demonstrators. The presence of so many landless peasant farmers created discontent. The success of the revolutionaries in France also inspired a revolution in Austria-Hungary. The course of the revolution. In the Austrian Empire, the success of the French Revolution inspired the students' and workers' uprising in Vienna, for liberal reforms. King Ferdinand I gave way to the demands of the revolutionaries while the hated Metternich was forced to go on exile to England. In Hungary, the Magyars led by a patriotic lawyer, journalist, and orator called Louis Kossuth led the revolt against Austrian domination. The Czech in Bohemia and Moravia led by Palacky demanded greater freedom within the Austrian Empire, leading to students' and workers' demonstration in Prague, the Czech capital. King Ferdinand promised liberal reforms, but General Windistrats led the Austrian army into Prague and crushed the revolt. Reasons why the revolution in the Habsburg Empire failed. The revolutionaries were divided between monarchists and republicans, especially in Hungary. Division in the national movement between the Germans and the Slavs. Lack of unity between the middle-class men and the workers. The revolutionaries had given the king enough time to escape to Innsbruck and mobilize against them. The divide-and-rule tactics adopted by the Austrian government made classes and races fight against one another. Good leadership provided by the Austrian army led by Gretzky against the rebels. The revolutionaries did not gain enough military support from the army. The revolutionaries failed to gain foreign aid, unlike the Austrian government which gained aid from Russia. They were not courageous to resist the brute force of the Austrian government. The revolutionaries lacked popular support from the masses because they had not educated the masses adequately on liberalism. Consequences of the revolt. Metternich was forced to escape. The feeble Emperor Ferdinand I abdicated in favor of the energetic Francis Joseph. It led to the formation of the Austrian-Hungary Empire. Peasants and workers were given more rights. Victimization of revolutionaries' leaders. People lost their lives as a result of the anti-government demonstration. The failure led to the failure of revolution elsewhere. Created conflicts between the Slavs and the Magyars, and it brought Croatia closer to Austria since they helped the Austrians against the Magyars and were promised independence. It led to a decline in feudalism, land reforms with millions of peasants gaining land, improvement of transport and communication infrastructure.